MR15 is better than MR12, that's my opinion, but it's not an unpopular one, because everyone is saying it, even the pros, but why? When Counterstrike 2 first released its early access on the September of 2023, I was pleasantly surprised by how fresh MR12 felt. The game's so fast and yet it still felt somewhat the same as it always was before. There was a sort of freshness in this new format that everyone is trying to figure out, but as time went on and the competitive meta caught up to the game, the flaws started showing. Games tended to swing too quickly, where sometimes the game was over before it truly even began. Both as a viewer and a player, the games in MR12 just don't really feel as good as MR15. Let's take a look at the reasons why. Pistol rounds have always been an integral part of Counterstrike. It serves like an appetizer, an opening sequence, or a way to build up a game. Similar to a kickoff in football, a jump ball in basketball, service in tennis or table tennis, the team in possession of the ball dictates the momentum and pace of the game. Similarly, the team who wins the pistol round starts with the momentum and pace of the game, while the opposing team tries to break it and get the momentum for themselves. This is why you often see teams usually string multiple rounds together once they win their first round. This is a perfect dynamic that has existed in Counter-Strike since the very beginning. In MR15, pistol rounds play this role to perfection. It doesn't overstay its welcome by only having 2 out of 15 rounds in a half, giving the rest of the half time for each team to fight for their momentum and string their rounds together. In MR12, however, having 2 out of 12 rounds be from a pistol round, alongside with the ideology of momentum, the half could already be too far gone when the team finally breaks the momentum of the opposing team. This situation is much worse when it comes to the second pistol round. You probably had this situation before. You just had an 8-4 half, twice the amount of rounds as the enemy. Maybe you won the first pistol, maybe you didn't, but you did have a strong first half and are looking to carry the lead to victory. But now, you lost the pistol round and a subsequent equal round. The game is 8-6. What felt like a commanding lead is now just 2 rounds apart from a tight game. It just feels too punishing for you to be losing a pistol round. On the other side, if you're 4-8 down and you're looking to start your comeback, you lose that pistol round, and now the game is 4-10. Your opponents are 2 rounds away from match point. You only have 1 full buy round to make sure your opponent doesn't get there, which is equally as punishing and maybe even more so just to be losing a pistol round. The common argument is that the game doesn't need so many buy-round chances for an opposing team to make a comeback, especially when one team is clearly better than the other. However, what if the teams are really close to each other in skill? Counter-Strike is a heavily momentum and timing-based game. Lots of it is mitigated by professional team play and tactics. However, there are some rounds that cannot be controlled by the players. When something unlucky happens in a crucial buy round that could ignite one of the 2 chances of stealing that game's momentum, it is not only very demoralizing, but also way too punishing. Which brings me to my next point, economy. Counter-Strike 2's economy system is not built for MR12. It has and was originally balanced for MR15, and there is precisely a reason why. Following my points from earlier, in a momentum-based style game like Counter-Strike and MR12, having to double eco or having 1 bad buy to an eco at any point of the game, regardless of how badly you mess up your economy, should never exist or only exist in extremely rare situations. That is because in a half of 12 rounds or less, giving away 2 rounds to afford 1 buy round is just way too much. The game is giving you too few opportunities to swing the momentum and too few rounds to make use of it once you get it. Sometimes, even after a bad buy to an eco, depending on the loss bonus, you might not even have enough economy to afford a full buy round, having to settle for lesser weaponry on your buys instead. Now, a double eco in MR15 is not perfect either, but having more rounds does help to reduce its impact. Eco rounds can be used as a throwaway round that some teams use as a French timeout while trying to burn as much utilities as they can. This ultimately affects the way teams approach the game. You would think that making the game MR12 over MR15 would enable faster gameplay with more high impact rounds and clutch moments, but that is not the case. With fewer rounds to play, each round is more impactful and important. Teams are disincentivized to make risky decisions, cold reads or strats, resulting in a much more default heavy meta in the game. That is until one team is backed into a corner. And because of the economy, teams should also try their best to keep the amount of eco rounds that they have as low as possible, resulting in more players saving their weapons compared to MR15, even in a 60-40 situation. Now, high percentage plays and optimization will always exist in the highest level of any esports or sports genre. Even in MR15, there will be players and teams that will save in the same situations. Defaulting has also been a major part of the game, even in MR15. However, MR12 is accelerating and maybe also forcing this meta onto the top teams, punishing those that try to break the wheel and try something different. Furia with Art used to have an identity for their crazy aggression in their early rounds. FaZe, back in MR15, would often go for unwinnable retakes, and while they would lose many times, when they win, creates incredible moments. Which leads me to my final point, the viewer experience. Counterstrike is and will always be fun to watch for me. Even with the many flaws that MR12 has, the game still provides a fun, exciting and intense experience for all to see. But I can't help but feel that the viewer experience could be a little bit better. The identity of each team is no longer as easy to see as it was before. This is natural selection as metas evolve and teams follow the meta, much like how teams learn from the SK era and then the Astralis era.
At this point, I'm cheering for you.
I feel that the current meta is not brought forward by a top team that had innovative and game-changing strategies, but from the game that limits these factors. Because of that, we do not get to see as much of Heroic's crazy gambles. We do not get to see as much of Furia's crazy force buys. And we do not get to see as much of Faye's stubbornness to play the retake. Unlike other games like Valorant or League of Legends that receives constant update and seasonal changes that reinvents new metas and game mechanics by the developers for players to adapt, Counter-Strike has always been a limitless sandbox of styles and strategies, where the metas are developed by the players and oftentimes changes made by the game developers are ones that enable creativity and options for players to pursue, and that is why the game is so charming for many people. When you look at how Mirage Window is taken over the years from a video made by Mahoney TV, you get to see why the game is so fun to watch because you're there to see this evolution live in its natural state instead of being forced or balanced in a certain way by the developers saying this is the way to take Middle in Mirage. In that sense, I do feel that MR12 is limiting the creativity and identities of players and teams from evolving the game naturally by punishing risk and rewarding things like saving, which will in turn affect the future and upcoming players and teams who will also lose access to these playstyles that will eventually be lost to time. In the end, Counter-Strike to me is still fun to play and watch, and I will likely never ever get tired of it. That being said, I really hope if Counter-Strike continues with MR12, there will be massive economy and piston round changes that can really enable more teams to be creative and innovative in their approach to the game. Thank you so much for watching this video. I want to give a proper disclaimer that this is a very opinionated piece of video that not necessarily everyone will agree with, and if you disagree or agree with me, feel free to let me know in the comments. I'm really open to the conversation about MR12 and MR15 and would really want to hear more thoughts from the community about this. Once again, thank you so much for watching this video and hopefully I'll make another one again soon.